On April 6, 1997, 25-year-old Gregory Philip Malnory Jr., commonly known as Greg, and his 26-year-old wife Kimberly and Malnory were invited over to the South Florida sod farm by Greg's 37-year-old co-worker, Jamesdennisford, who arranged for a fishing trip with the couple at the farm. The Malnorys, together with their 22-month-old daughter Maranda, arrived at the farm in their family truck. They believed it would be a peaceful and relaxing fishing trip, but what they unaware of that they were walking into a trap. As soon as the couple arrived, things took a turn for the worse. The serene setting of the sod farm became the backdrop for a horrifying act of violence. Ford struck first before Greg could react. Ford attacked him with a blunt object and delivered blow after blow to his head. The impact was devastating. Greg, dazed and bloodied, had no time to fight back. In a final act of brutality, Ford slit his throat, ensuring there was no chance of survival. Kimberly, who was injured at that time, escaped and managed to save her daughter by strapping her to the back seat of the truck. However, Ford caught up to Kimberly and subjected her to a horrific assault before ending her life with the same merciless brutality. He executed her with the rifle. The next day morning that the horrors of the night came to light, a worker at the farm arrived early, ready to start the day, but instead of the quiet fields he was used to, he found a crime scene that would haunt him forever. The bodies of Greg and Kimberly lay lifeless, their injuries telling a story of unspeakable violence. He found 22-month-old Maranda alive, who was trapped for more than 18 hours inside the truck. She was dehydrated, weak, suffered insect bites, and covered in her mother's blood. Authorities were called immediately, the crime scene was processed, and soon the investigation began. Investigators worked tirelessly to piece together what had happened, the brutality of the attack, the methodical way in which Greg and Kimberly had been killed. An autopsy report showed that at least 7 blunt force injuries were inflicted to the head and face of Greg, and it was most likely that an axe was used to cause these injuries. James Ford was not arrested until April 17, 1997, when he was found to be the last person who saw the Malnorys alive, and the investigations further implicated him in the murders. Ford initially claimed that he last saw the couple alive after he left them and their daughter to go hunting alone. He also added that when he returned to his truck, he never saw whether the couple were alive or dead and how they died. However, Ford's statements contained multiple inconsistencies, and there were witnesses who attested to the fact that Ford was last together with the couple before their deaths. He was arrested on April 18, 1997. During the trial, the prosecution submitted various items of evidence to prove that Ford was guilty of murder, most notably the forensic evidence, where the DNA profile of the semen traces on Kimberly Malnory's body matched to that of Ford. Ford's pocket knife seized from his home was found to contain traces of Greg Malnory's DNA, and the parts of a rifle recovered at the murder site were certified to have come from Ford's rifle. After deliberation, they found Jamesdennisford guilty on all charges: first-degree murder, sexual battery, and child abuse. On April 23, 1999, by a majority vote of the jury recommended the death penalty for the charges of murder in Ford's case. From 2001 to 2018, Ford filed appeal after appeal, each one rejected by the courts. January 10, 2025, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis signed the death warrant for Jamesdennisford. After nearly 3 decades, the man responsible for one of Florida's most brutal crimes would finally face the ultimate consequence. His execution was scheduled for February 13, 2025. The murder of Greg and Kimberly Malnory remains one of Florida's most shocking crimes. It was a case of trust betrayed, of a friend who turned into a monster, and in the midst of all the darkness, one small beacon of hope remained: Maranda. She was too young to remember that horrific night, but her survival was a testament to resilience, to the strength of the human spirit.